Well, for another perspective on this story, Chairperson of the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Correctional Services, Vincent Smith, joins me now on the line. Mr. Smith, as we've heard, the decision to have parole revoked has been welcomed. But just take us through how it's even possible for two prisoners serving terms for murder to get privileges similar to those we saw on the video.
Well, good afternoon, Kieran. Firstly, that has been a concern of the committee for the past 5 years since we've taken office. The fact that all sorts of contraband find their way into our cells, our correctional facilities. So it really was for us an unacceptable situation where you find all types of contraband in our correctional facilities. How they get in there, I'm convinced, is partly collusion from officials. And those officials, we've always argued, need to be identified and dealt with as harshly as is possible.
Well, just in terms of that, members of correctional services and their complicity, are you hoping that any heads will be rolling just in line with what's happened?
Well, undoubtedly, as late as Wednesday at the Portfolio Committee meeting with the acting commissioner, national commissioner, we've insisted, one, that it must be done speedily, and two, we would want to know exactly what the sanction is. As far as I am concerned, if there's any criminal activity that has taken place, they must be charged criminally for their actions.
I'm sure you'll agree that this doesn't send out a comforting message to victims and families of crime. If the video had not emerged, we would have been none the wiser. What further steps would you like to see happen?
Kieran, I, as the chairperson and the committee collectively, are on record of requesting the department for two things that will not eradicate but certainly would reduce. The one, we ask for technology to be introduced to allow for the jamming of cell phone signals, so that even if cell phones find their way into the facilities, if the signal has been jammed, they are rendered useless. That's the one. The second, we've been advocating for the introduction of CCTV cameras in our cells. Again, it would reduce the amount of warm bodies to do monitoring, and technology will assist that monitoring can be done by less warm bodies, very much as it's done in the banks, very much as it's done in most of public spaces. And we think that that will not eradicate, but it will certainly be a deterrent. And we are hoping that the department now sees the wisdom of the introduction of CCTV cameras as well as technology to jam cell phone signals in our facilities.
Just in terms of the CCTV cameras in cells, what is standing in the way of that happening? Because surely this would protect prisoners from violent attacks. It would, perpetrators of crimes would be able to be identified in prison. What is actually standing in the way?
Initially, there was the question around the privacy of inmates. I have consistently argued that you cannot argue for the privilege or the privacy of an inmate whilst you neglect the privacy of another inmate that is being violated. Surely the human dignity of the one that's being violated supersedes the need for privacy of other inmates. We've won that argument, I think, in the public space. It now, I think, rests solely on the shoulders of the department in terms of affordability and practicality. But it's really no longer an argument of whether we should or shouldn't. It should be a matter of, does the department have the budget? And we think that that will go a long way in managing human abuses within our facilities, both abuses by inmate on inmate, but also abuses by officials on inmates or inmates on officials. We just think it's something that's urgent and needs to be considered very seriously.
Vincent, it's more than likely that other prisoners are serving sentences for serious crimes, just like the Waterkloof Four. They're getting similar treatment. I would imagine that there is a pretty strong perception in the public, among members of the public, that prisons are more like a holiday camp than they are places for incarceration. Would you agree with that?
I would agree that perception is out there, Kieran, absolutely. But again, from the time that we took office, this portfolio committee has consistently said we are not comfortable with the idea that prisoners spend 23 hours in their cells watching TV. They should be out doing constructive work or at school. In fact, when we go into oversight, everybody would know that I would be arguing for if a prisoner is not working or if a prisoner is not at school, he should not even be considered for parole. That is a message that we've been consistently sending out to every facility. No work, no school, no parole. Because it's either work or school that assists in rehabilitation. If you're not doing any of those things, I'm not convinced you'll come out a rehabilitated individual.
That was Vincent Smith, who's the chair of the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee. We thank you for your time this Saturday afternoon.
Know more. enca.com